Saitama is not the strongest in all of anime. The caped Baldy might be the living joke of shonen, and his power is beyond the scope of many, but his punches and skills leave something to be desired in the wider anime multiverse. So while he is near the top of threat level God, the final ranking might surprise you. So let's see where Saitama truly stands in today's investigation. To start, we must first analyse Saitama's combat feats and physical power to determine his strength in survival situations. Saitama is the living embodiment of an overpowered superhero. On paper, he's ordinary, a bold man in a plain cape, living in a cramped apartment, obsessed with supermarket deals. But in reality, he is a walking natural disaster, with speed, reflexes and power that can shatter worlds.
Okay.
This is a hero who destroyed a meteor large enough to wipe out a city with a single punch, who survived being blasted to the moon and then casually leaped back to Earth in seconds, leaving a crater on the lunar surface just from the takeoff. And who tanked Boris's collapsing star roaring cannon, an energy blast said to wipe out the planet's surface, and didn't just survive, but punched through it without a scratch. His speed is equally terrifying. Saitama has outrun Speed of Sound Sonic, blitzed Genos in training matches, and dodged Boros' so-called lightning speed barrages with ease. This is a man who can cross cities in the blink of an eye, yet mostly uses that speed to make it to the grocery store before the sale ends.
If we really hurry, we can still make it.
Wait, so you're saying there's still a chance?
Many of these feats are presented with comedic exaggeration. Saitama's very existence bends the rules of his universe. He isn't written to be scaled, even when the strongest villains admit he isn't fighting them seriously, and likely never has. Which is why trying to compare him to heavyweights like Goku or Rimuru gets murky. His power cap could very well be infinite when it comes to combat. And if that is the case, then fighting him head-on is pointless. If you can really one-punch any opponent before they can react, then you're dead before the battle even begins.
No way!
But if Saitama does have a weakness, it lies outside the realm of fists and brute force. If you really think about it, Saitama has never shown resistance to magic. Instant death spells, curses, or reality warping techniques could, in theory, take him down. Something like Ainz ul Gon's grasp heart might be able to kill him outright, except Ainz would never get the chance, because Saitama's speed makes casting too slow. And again, Rimuru's Predator ability is another interesting case. If Saitama were somehow absorbed, would Rimuru inherit his limitless power? And then there's the Death Note. If his name and face are known, a long-range death sentence might bypass his strength entirely, unless his absurdity allows him to break even the laws of the notebook itself.
Hey, Genos, say something to her.
Sir. Look, spoiled brat. Shut up and get lost, or pay the price.
That's it, yeah!
And let's not forget, Saitama is still biologically human in some respects. When he was launched into space, he held his breath, suggesting he needs oxygen, so teleportation magic that strands him in the void could eventually kill him. So his weaknesses aren't that simple, because if Saitama catches you first, you are definitely going to lose, instantly. But if an enemy with the right timing, distance and ability to bypass his power, then for the first time in Saitama's history, the One Punch Man may be vulnerable.
You totally bought it. Sweetness!
But remember, agents, power isn't everything. A wise man can take down a whole army on his own if his timing is right. So how does he fare when it comes to a battle of wits? Due to Saitama's overwhelming strength, he rarely has a reason to think intelligently in battle. He might be the only fighter in all of anime who can charge any enemy head-on with no plan and still win. Because the ball is always in his court, No matter how fast, stealthy or powerful his opponent may be, they are always at a disadvantage. Take his encounters with speed to sound Sonic. Even with Sonic's rapid position changes and blinding agility, Saitama always knew exactly where he was. His reflexes and instincts are so absurd that no trick or ambush ever really lands. His only real mental challenge isn't the enemy in front of him, it's his own boredom. If Saitama actually fought seriously and thought his battles through, his fights would end faster than they already do, which is saying something. But this also exposes a subtle weakness. Because Saitama is so aloof and unconcerned, it would never cross his mind to prepare for non-physical threats. Instant death spells, reality-bending techniques, or long-range curses aren't things he would anticipate naturally. He fights strictly within the One Punch Man rulebook, brute force only, which means the surest way to defeat him may not be through combat at all. And outside of battle, Saitama is hilariously clueless. He forgets faces, ignores obvious social cues, and ranks near the bottom of the Hero Association, not because of his weakness, but because he's too lazy to report his accomplishments. He doesn't strategize, doesn't plan, and doesn't really care about anything. His tactics are always the same. Walk up to an enemy, throw a punch, and watch them explode. Very simple, but very effective.
Bugs. They suck.
And now we move on to the final stage of the investigation. His unique traits that elevate him from low-level hero to high-priority threat in the field. Saitama is the living parody of shonen archetype. Where other heroes sweat and bleed for their victories, Saitama yawns and sneezes and complains about being hungry. His limitless strength and invulnerability aren't just traits, they're commentary. He's the answer to the question, what happens when a hero actually reaches the end goal of becoming the strongest? The result isn't glory, it's boredom. And yet his blandness is also a weapon. Because he looks so unimpressive, even his fellow heroes underestimate him, and enemies never see him coming until it's too late. But his most unique trait goes beyond raw power. Saitama literally bends the rules of the universe in his favor. Attacks that should vaporize planets don't scratch him. Speed that should break the limits of perception, he reacts casually. Even concepts like scaling or fair fights collapse in his presence. The laws of storytelling stop applying when he steps into the ring. He doesn't just fight within his world's logic, he rewrites them.
Can I go home?
So with all that, the investigation has concluded. So where will we put Saitama in the threat level system? On paper, his feats are absurd. Obliterating meteors, tanking planet-killing blast, leaping from the moon and outpacing supposed lightspeed attacks, all without breaking a sweat. His speed, power and durability put him in a league so far beyond anime that direct comparisons start to collapse under their own weight. But that's exactly the issue. Saitama isn't meant to be measured by conventional scaling. He bends the rules of his universe, shrugging off damage, ignoring limits, and casually breaking every exception of how a battle is supposed to work. In terms of raw power, he absolutely belongs at the very top. Yet when you factor in his lack of strategy, his obliviousness to things like magic or instant kill techniques, and his very human needs like oxygen, you begin to see the cracks in his armor, and he may not be truly invincible across every anime multiverse. So where does that leave him? Saitama obviously sits comfortably at the pinnacle of threat level god, at the double S tier. This puts him above Ainz, the Floor Guardians and Kaiju number 8, who we've already ranked at this level. Still, the door is open for somebody even greater to surpass him one day. In a straight fight, no one stands a chance, but against characters who exploit rules beyond brute strength, his boredom, lack of foresight and human vulnerabilities leave the tiniest sliver of doubt. And that concludes the Saitama investigation. Do you think he truly deserves the top tier spot of threat level god? Or do you think there are other weaknesses holding him back from being the ultimate anime hero? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next target. Thank you for watching.